Welcome back, everybody. It is the Working Brother back at you with another talk yet again. Xoaquin Flores. Xoaquin,
Hey,
welcome.
what's good? Hey,
How
what's
you
good,
doing?
man? I'm good. Thanks for having me back.
It's good to have you back. You're always welcome on. And you said you've got some things that you wanted to cover and some free time to record. So I said, why not? And it's ridiculously early in Working Brother time. It's relatively midday for you, I'd say.
About right. Yeah.
For people who don't know, Xoaquin is a family man. He has life outside of the internet. Xoaquin, what subjects are we going to talk about today? What is it? You want to get into that article that you sent along?
Yeah. So I got something, that I put out there, and we'll see who picks it up. But we'll see who picks it up. But there's a good chance that it'll get picked up by the that website that we're not allowed to mention on YouTube.
That we did that special on.
That we did
Rumble.
the special on the Rumble or whatever.
I was suspecting that is where it will get picked up, but it could be copied elsewhere as well, right? The ideas get copied, that's for sure.
But that's what you want in a way. It's about the ideas and stuff. But yeah, we live in a world where there's a ecosystem of the monetizers are kind of like the thought vultures, But it is what it is, It's all good.
Yeah, it is what it is. Too bad I don't have the visual for that set up right away. I came across this. I thought you'd find this funny. We used to laugh at comedians and listen to politicians. Now we laugh at politicians and listen to comedians. How do you feel about the state of politics these days? And what's going on? And should we get into the U.S. a bit? And
I feel good about it generally. I'm pleased with the state of politics, and I'll tell you why. It's because it has been so the message and the whole way that the elites have been doing things have been so clear, for so long, that I think it tells people, it allows people to catch up. It allows, broad masses of people to understand what's going on. So I'm happy with the state of politics, due to its, transparency. The corruption and the evil is so transparent. I think that's a huge plus,
You fought in the meme wars? Yes.
Did you do that? Yeah, that's your grandkids are going to ask you, one day, where were you during the great, meme wars?
We're participating as much as we can, right? Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. This is today's news.
Yeah.
This is we're gonna get into some news today. Meta CEO Zuckerberg.
Yeah, this is all connected actually to what we're talking about actually today, because this is actually something that the event was not Zuckerberg per se. I didn't forecast it, but I've been talking about for many months now how they want to move things. They want to back off the message a little bit. There's different reasons why they could be doing that, but people shouldn't think that they're letting go of it or anything, but they're backing off the message,
When you say the message, you mean the evil one that we're accustomed to?
Yeah, it was, I want to say even in 2019 or 2020, Obama was giving a commencement speech to graduates of Yale or Columbia or something, picking up $1 million check from them or whatever. But the thing that he told them was that and to put it in the way people talk about it, is that everything woke goes broke. So don't do woke. That was Obama's wisdom to the graduates, that he was saying actually that they had to get off of this, that the message type stuff. It doesn't mean that they're not committed to the underlying evil, right, that they're trying to accomplish, but they can see that the patient has like rejected the grafting or whatever, right? Like it's like Total Recall, you know.
Speaking of the evil underlying, we've got a meme here, shared by yours truly, and then also found by Tim Kirby, who is a friend of yours and mine.
Yes.
In the long run, wars make us safer and richer. The Washington Post. You like the WAPO. You often review them.
Yeah, I often review WAPO. I like them. You know, what's funny about this meme is that when I shared it from Tim Kirby's channel, like I got a bot that was trying to fact check it, you know, and it was like this whole paragraph. And then I couldn't remember if the person was real or not, so I didn't ban them. You know, I'm not a ban happy person, but I will delete. Clearly, it was just a fact check, you know, and it was like, this is misleading because actually the article is just talking about the evolution of warfare and dual use technologies and stuff, which is a fair point, right? But it's actually, what the misleading part is not that. Like, the misleading part is actually to say that it's misleading, because the meme is truer than, yeah, it's true that the article was saying in the history of warfare, the research and development that goes into those things has, you know, commercial usage and dual usage and spin off into consumer goods or whatever. But that's actually not really the case broadly. Like, if you get into wars that you fucking lose, it's not good for, you know what I mean? No one's going to get richer if you're dead, right? Like, so you can't spend it when you're dead. So that's the deeper truth. So we had to manage a little bit of disinformation about disinformation.
I don't know. My opinion of your and some other admins' liberal approach to trolls, agents, and all the other kinds of. Oh wait, I got a meme about that. Is way too liberal. Way too liberal. Like, as soon as I smell them, it's like, hello, goodbye. Ban.
Oh,
like,
I know
I don't
what you
care.
mean. The thing is that what you want to do with trolls is, because what you have to understand is that these are not really independent actors. Like, there are troll farms, you know, there's bot armies and troll farms and shit. And so if you get rid of one, there's going to be another. And you can learn so much if you have a particular troll from a troll farm and they're relatively consistent in their, you know, modus operandi and how they message themselves and how they're right. Yeah, don't feed the trolls. You have it actually helps, you know, to identify the trolls. And if you are, you can delete their messages that you don't like without deleting them from the community, right? And by tracking and keeping track of the trolls, and you know, oh, this is a troll saying it, and then sometimes there's something interesting in the message, or there's some angle, and then you learn something more about like what talking points are coming up from command. You know what I mean? So you actually get so much more out of a, as you call it, liberal approach, where people are allowed to be like out in the open, which actually leads us to our next point, man. I'm glad you raised it this way, because one of the big mistakes that Mark Zuckerberg made in being a relevant analytic big data aggregator was by banning everyone that disagreed with the message, right? So now they can't really, now they you got to get into Google, you got to get into Alphabet and stuff like that. You got to use DuckDuckGo and other ways to understand what people are interested in and you know. So the illiberalism, right, actually creates for anyone a security risk, you know, because you want people to feel enough that they're out in the open, and then the activities are not covert. Or if you want to know what people are thinking, you got to really thinking, like in their dreams and their hearts. Like, you can't have a society where people feel like they're not saying those things, because then you're not going to really know what people think or what they really want. So
Do you want
And
me
you also
to?
identify opportunities, dangers,
Do you want me to flash up this article, a bit of it
Yeah,
that you wrote up, and then you can go into some of the things that you outline here?
sure.
As
Yeah, my head
usual.
might turn this way because I'm gonna see the screen like larger over here, I guess.
All right.
Um,
Um, go through what you think the main points. Like, I'm not gonna preview the whole
did you give
article
it a
for
listen?
people.
Did you give it a listen?
Yes, I did. I did give it a listen through
What did you think
through
the main?
Microsoft Edge.
Yeah, what did you take from it?
Well, um, you discuss how this fear, let's say, exists, and this stigma of big tech being used, to keep us in chains, basically, and how big tech has been, let's say, guided in this direction. And the panopticon can be used to actually benefit society in a more ideal situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned panopticon. I mean, the idea of the panopticon features prominently in my work on, reviewing the ideas of Foucault and in relationship to the lockdowns and the are we allowed this? No, we can't. The when everyone was being told to stay home unless they got this thing. I did a lot of
And
work. I did a lot of
you're
writing
not
like
talking
4
about
years
you're not
ago.
talking about the stripe. You're not talking about the stripe here, the red stripe.
Right. Yeah. People had to get something put into their arm or they had to stay home or whatever, right? So during that time, I was writing a lot about the reset and the panopticon through the lens of quarantine type measures and stuff. So now the thing with the general idea here, man, is like we know that when the 45th president was running in 2016, that he, back before all of the censorship on Facebook was a thing, it made Facebook a useful big data aggregator because you could actually get into like what's going on in people's minds and what they think. I'm going to lose the glasses. And so what happens is that back in 2016, his campaign, I don't even want to give you little minor red flags for mentioning this dude's name. See, I know there's channels that can just say all these things and it's totally suspect, but then you get like a real channel like yours, and then you can see how the censorship actually works. And then you can actually see like who
I have no
is
idea what
actually
you're
being
talking
banned.
about. By the way, I forgot. Everybody who's new here, hi, welcome. This is a comedy show. Nothing we say here has anything
Right.
to do with reality,
None of
and
we're saying
everything.
anything
Every
reality. This is just all like we're doing a spoof,
Yeah, it's a parody. It's like it's not even parody. What's the other one called? I can't remember now. Doesn't matter. In any case, you're mentioning that guy who went golfing, right?
What?
The guy who went golfing. Is that who you were
The guy
talking about?
who I'm talking about the guy. I'm talking about the 45th president, and what he
The-
what he did is that he purchased from Facebook through a third party intermediary called Cambridge Analytica
Mhm.
all of the data that would tell you like people really want this or people really believe that. That guy.
The
So,
golfer, as he will be
right,
referred to from
and
now
people want
on.
to understand. I mean, of course, as a person from New York City that has been involved in the building trades, people think about real estate, but he's a builder actually. So there's speculation, of course, in that, but he has a lot of work with construction. He's long dealt with unions, with workers, he kind of understands definitely things through a lens beyond his own, class experience, right? But that was greatly buttressed by all of this Cambridge Analytica stuff. So the question isn't so much why would Trump use that, right? The question is like, why aren't the other, why isn't the blob into this, right? Why isn't the
Time out.
so-called,
Before we get into the blob and so on, you want to
Yeah.
clue in people who may not be aware what exactly Cambridge Analytica is and what the connotation is?
Yeah, so Cambridge Analytica is a big data analysis cruncher. So it basically takes data sets that are available from Facebook, but it also has original metric or code about how to interpret that data, or like what it means, and how to weight that, or what they're looking for. So that's what it is. It was a company, basically. It's a company that provides crunching and output of meaningful data based upon what you're looking for, based upon a universe of data that has been being produced by Facebook, for like 16 years or something now. But at the time, it would have been 10 years, so, or whatever, or 8 years. So, but it was a lot of data, and it like what is really going on. People are into, UFO disclosure. People are into all kinds of things. And those were things that the 45th president was talking about during his presidency, during the campaign. I mean, a lot of things. I just mentioned UFOs because it's like out there. It's something that you don't get a lot of talk about until the last couple years. But it was known.
Obama talked a lot about aliens, man. Obama talked, even before he got elected, he talked a lot about aliens and like disclosure and like all that BS. But as soon as the government started talking about it,
you had people like Dr. Stephen Greer that were out there, and they had been lobbying the former UN main UN talking head General Secretary Boutros Boutros-Ghali, and this was during the time of Bill Clinton. So, that was, but yet there hadn't been a lot of disclosure until 2019 or something, like a lot of disclosure until like 2019, 2020. Remember all that? So maybe 2018, but it was during the 45th. It was during the time of 45 is the takeaway there. So
the point is, the whole alien story is like, I don't know what to say. Like, it's not aliens, number one, and number two, if the government is telling you it's true, then there's something else going on. Also, right. I've got another meme.
There's also something else going on. I mean, it's likely to be false. It could be true. Okay, what do you have? Trump wins
mostly peaceful
the debate,
memes.
Assassination attempt. Trump wins the debate. Assassination. Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, no, I actually thought that Trump lost the last debate in the sense of,
I knew that would trigger you. Go on.
What the target was. I wrote about it, so I mean, it's out there what I think. It's not like I can pretend I didn't say that. And I think it's true that I think that Kamala Harris won that debate. But when I say won that debate, I don't think she won the battle of ideas, or I don't agree with the things that she's saying. It's kind of like, I'm one of those people that I can watch a boxing match and I can see the guy that I want to win, like, lose in a technical knockout, and not be like saying, oh, that fucking ref, or you know what I mean? Because those are the rules of the game. Like, you go in, if you know you're going to be fighting at Caesar's Palace, and you know the particular ref, and you know you know what I mean. If you have hometown advantage and all that stuff's part of the game and shit. And if you're not ready on game day, and on any given Sunday, your guy can lose. So I didn't think that he failed to say the things that people who like him want to hear him say. I just think that he mashed up, he didn't really engage the questions the right way. And he felt this need to just attack, and he failed to whatever his purpose was. I don't think it hurt him. Don't get me wrong. And even by the polling, even the official polling that is really rooting for Harris, they said that she maybe gained 1 point out of that on average. in the country. And
Time out. I gotta, because you said Harris, and I haven't discussed this in recording. I actually haven't even brought it up with anybody in person either. But Harris, in Arabic, Haris, means goalkeeper or like guard. As in like the guard of the building is the Harris. Like the like attendant, the building attendant. That's the Haris.
That's very interesting. I wonder what the etymology of Harris is in the. What is she, African or Indian? No, that would be an English name, right? Yeah, no.
Comedy show.
Swahili, or would it be? No. She's not. No, this is a.
So wait, getting back to circling back to the debate. So my take, honestly, you're right. Trump did in his scale of like intelligence and debating and whatever. His the best score you could give him was like a 7 out of 10. You know what I mean? 7.3 out of 10. You know what I mean? Which is he got a C plus. Maybe if we were generous.
I had Harris at a B. B minus. I mean, it was close.
Harris,
but the way I scored
yeah, exactly. She got like a B minus, but for her on what is that called? Like a sliding scale, or what is it called? Like a curved. I can't remember what it's called.
A curve or sliding scale.
The point is, she did like 110%. She didn't even cackle once. I saw some review where the guy was like, they must have been talking in her ear, don't cackle, don't cackle, don't cackle. Like that's all. Oh, it wasn't a review. That was me talking with Stas the other day. Yeah, I might leave a link somewhere. Also, I can't. So overall, I get what you're saying. Like Trump could have done better, but objectively, he lost. Because it was 3-on-1.
Right.
among other things.
I mean, he's won before with 3-on-1. It was just he looked tired. He seemed like every answer he was just trying to say. You can't give every talking point on every fucking subject in 2 minutes every time you answer a different question,
Man,
it was
just listen, the format itself was retarded. It was slowed down, which is what retarded means. It was like a boxing match. You got 3-minute rounds, but it was 2-minute rounds. And then it wasn't even there was no debate. There was no it was say your shit, and then I'll say my shit, and then you'll say, that's not a debate. I went to debate class. I know what debates are meant to be structured as. You know what I mean? Plus the fact checking of the moderators was hilarious and very
interesting is that Waco ran an op-ed about that debate, and they said that it was very slanted against Trump, and that they let Kamala Harris get away with lying or not being fact checked on egregious errors. One of the big ones was when she said that there's no U.S. troops stationed in conflict zones right now. It's like, what?
All I can say is I have very funny comments about that, but they're not for YouTube. They involve aircraft carriers and stuff like that. Unsinkable ones. In any case, yeah, so shall we move on from Trump? Do you want to get back to your article about this panopticon stuff, or did we cover that sufficiently?
Well, no, it's the idea. We didn't actually talk about it, but I mean, you would know.
Yeah, we didn't get into the meat of the how the liberal view of dissecting things involves circular arguments. Do you want to get into that part of what you were saying?
You know what? I think the biggest takeaway for people is just to try to understand what is going on. The point in the conclusion, my findings and conclusions section is really, I think, what summarizes it. I mean, you could probably have a fucking voice read it for us right now, but yeah.
You want me to do that?
Yeah, just the findings and conclusions part, because that actually just everything that's developed in the 2,000 words prior is summarized in my summary.
Hold on. I'll have your African cousin read it to us now.
No, don't do African cousin, dude. Do someone that makes it sound like people would understand that they wouldn't see me as just like this Mexican dude. They would actually understand that I was an analyst and stuff if you read it in the British voice. Then it would sound fucking smart, dude.
Okay, hold on. Let me set
Everyone
that
I know
up.
in Santa Monica, California, that got ripped off in some deal, like buying something, it was from a British person. Because they sounded like, oh, it's real estate or it's a car or something, but a British person selling it, so let's buy it.
Hold on. We've got English United States. Where is... What? They changed the order now? English Canada, English Hong Kong, English India, English Ireland, English Kenya, English Nigeria, United Kingdom.
There you go.
Ryan. Do you want Ryan or Thomas?
I don't know the difference, man. In terms of names, I like the name Thomas better than Ryan personally. Ryan's a girl's name.
All right, then we'll have... Where'd Thomas go? There we go. English. Thomas. All right. First, by the way, everybody who's bought me a coffee, thank you. Coffee powers the show. Here it is. You buy me coffees, I drink them. In theory. Also, Patreons. Patreons, people on Patreon, thank you for the support. Also, reminder, not eligible for monetization. Now that that's out of the way, let's do this. We've got findings and conclusions, and let's see if we can make this read it out loud.
Purely an abstract battle of ideas, or the absence of liberalism is merely a case of not injecting or cultivating such ideals into the body politic, the culture, or the population at large, regardless of where that society situates developmentally in historical economic terms.
It's starting now.
Findings and conclusions. In conclusion, we are advancing these ideas as the foundation for forthcoming work that will delve into the transformations we foresee within the current system.
Okay.
Central to this analysis will be an examination of Hollywood's failure in shaping the message and the reactive corrective moves underway, which we view as a microcosm of the broader shifts likely to unfold across the collective West. By studying these dynamics in Hollywood, we aim to better understand and anticipate the imminent strategies and responses that will shape the political and cultural landscape in the near future. Indeed, we find ourselves at a terrifying crossroads in human history. Big data analytics have handed the ruling elites tools that could, if wielded responsibly, align governance with the will of the people in ways previously unimaginable. The sheer amount of personal data available, aggregated and analyzed to pinpoint every individual desire, should have heralded a new epoch of democracy, where government and culture are shaped by the collective will. But instead, what we have is the opposite, an authoritarian manipulation of this power, not to reflect the popular sentiment, but to suppress it. Trumpism, in this sense, is big data populism, and contains the most popular democratic potential which reinfuses both vigor and freedom into the body politic. But the elites seem to oppose this approach. This is no accident. This is a deliberate strategy to maintain control. The elites, those in the WEF, IMF, Silicon Valley, and their political puppets, have moved beyond the pretense of democracy. They use the data not to serve, but to subvert. It is not a failure of governance, but an assertion of a new kind of power, one that thrives on discord, disillusionment, and division. They know exactly what the people want, and yet they deliberately withhold it, offering instead a perverse menu of policies, culture, and propaganda designed to enrage, divide, and disempower. They push the limits of unpopularity to see how far they can go before the people rise up, only to realize that the structure itself, the apparatus of control, is impregnable. They are testing the elasticity of public tolerance, pushing the boundaries of oppression not to address the needs of the people but to demonstrate their immunity from consequence. This is the ultimate expression of anti-democracy, of anti-populism, in the age of big data. The elites are not simply unresponsive to the popular will, they are actively hostile to it. They use the immense technological power at their disposal not to foster a shared cultural or political reality but to fragment and atomize the population, creating a landscape where true democratic consensus is impossible. The result is a society where governance becomes an exercise in cruelty, where the more disconnected a policy is from the popular will, the more it signals elite power. The liberal critiques of this system fail precisely because they misunderstand the nature of the power being wielded. They mistake the superficial trappings of democracy for democracy itself, failing to see that what we face is a post-democratic reality. It is no longer about elections or the marketplace of ideas, it is about managing dissent, controlling narratives, and maintaining a thin veneer of legitimacy while perpetuating an authoritarian order. This is not paternalism as it existed in pre-modern or nationalist frameworks, where at least a semblance of the public good was pursued. No, this is paternalism weaponized, stripped of benevolence and directed solely at maintaining the elite's stranglehold on society. The tragedy is not just that we live under this system, but that we have been conditioned to accept it, even to expect it. In an age where technology could liberate us, it has instead been harnessed to enslave us to a perpetual state of dissatisfaction and powerlessness. This is not merely a failure of democracy, but its calculated annihilation, a destruction carried out in full view, hidden only by the complexity of the mechanisms used to carry it out. The future, if left in the hands of these elites, promises only more of the same, more control, more division, more distance between the rulers and the ruled. And until this reality is confronted, head-on, we will remain subjects, not citizens, in an increasingly hollowed-out, authoritarian world.
How do you rate Thomas?
It's not received pronunciation, you know, I don't even know what region in the UK I would describe that to, but it was all right. It was a bit staccato, a bit robotic, but it was, I could understand what was being said.
I like the more racist ones. Let's see what Ryan sounds like. Should we do another sentence from here? Let's do another clipping from here. Click here and then play.
Why this anti-democratic anti-populism in the age of big data analytics?
No.
Yeah, that one's actually better.
But why doesn't it want to start where I want it to start?
By Xoaquin. It is disturbing. But what is even more disorienting and bizarre is the realization that while the elites,
Come on, continue.
IMF, Wall Street, Downing Street, the City of London, Hollywood, etc., have access to all this information and know what people want or believe in a very detailed way, they continue nevertheless to promote policies, politicians, products, and culture, art, film, music, etc., which are unappealing and do not resonate broadly. Surely, they appeal to some niche audiences, but that cannot be confused for a mass market. In the
All right. I think that's enough British accent for today.
In plain speak, I think people get the idea, I hope. I mean, it's with the amount of data that they have, that there's no reason.
When you say they, you want to outline who you mean by they?
No, I don't, but people know what they mean. You know?
Aliens. It's the aliens.
It's aliens, man. It's aliens. I'm not
from
saying
the
it's
swamp.
Aliens, but it's aliens.
It's the aliens from the swamp.
Yeah.
Let's break it with a meme.
The president of that country east of Poland said, that's funny. Yeah, the president of that country, that big 12 time zone country east of Poland, was saying that he wonders sometimes if the people in charge there in Kyiv, I guess it's called Kyiv. It used to, when I was growing up, it was called Kiev. Now they call it Kyiv.
Kyiv. You got to add like a couple of E's to it.
Yeah, it's Kyiv. Yeah.
Well, considering you time out. Total tangent.
No, there's like this linguist lady. She's like a linguist on YouTube, and she was saying like, this is how you're supposed to pronounce Kiev, right? As Kyiv, but she was trying to give it this cleave, like a French, nasal whatever in the back of the throat. Like, and I'm like, what is this? She was insisting, man. but she was like some gringa. I don't know. She definitely wasn't from the region, but she was insisting that that's how it's supposed to be said. I
was gonna ask.
you know, it was chicken Kiev. You know what I mean? Chicken Kiev. And then, so I was in the UK to visit my brother, and we, you know, like pre-made whatever, like microwave dinner type of thing. And it said chicken Kiev on it. I'm like, so how do you even, we don't even get to say it anymore. Like, that's crazy. It's like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's
Newspeak. Number one, it's Newspeak, and number two, I was gonna tangent and ask, as like a foreign observer of sorts here in the Balkans, and a Serb, at least an adopted Serb, I can say. You are with the Croatian. You know, Croatians are famous for having the new word of the year every year that they come up with, and the bastardization, if you want to call it that, of the Serbian language, and what's happening with the Russian language in Ukraine, and the parallels in the history.
The very strong parallel. Yeah.
How do you feel seeing this develop live?
In real time, yeah, watching like words, like new imaginary words, like be like conjured into existence. No, I know my wife talks about the history of that in her Yugoslav experience growing up, but there were always like some words that were different, like Serb say hleb, Croat say hruk, but they didn't always say it, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, there was a time, it was like a political agenda to start
I'm not talking about, like, you know, we have synonyms and we use both. They use one more and we use one less. Right, you know what I mean? No, I'm talking about like neologism. Yeah, like new words and new spellings that have been invented just for the sake of being different, you know, just for the sake of like, I think it was with you that either you were mentioning in one of your lives or we discussed it, that basically like the identity is based on not being Serb.
Negative.
You know what I mean? Whereas,
it's who I'm not. You can't, and any people that has an identity around like who I'm not is like definitely that thing. You know, like they say, like the people that are like the biggest homophobes, right, are like repression cases, right?
Yes, they do say that, and I would probably agree with that. Also, I made a bunch of memes. YouTube, Working Brother on YouTube, stuff talked about with guests in private before recording. Yes, that is a real thing. Also, this is a real thing. Come to the chat on Telegram. Lots of interesting things happen there. Also, yes, my views do not align with any of the guests, for the record. All right.
Yeah, not per se. So, with big tech, with big data, you see, they should at least be trying to seduce us with appealing lies. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not even...
The aliens, they should be like the Hulu commercials, you're saying. You remember those Hulu commercials?
No.
You don't know the Hulu commercials? Okay, talk. I'm gonna look it up. We're gonna get get a copyright strike for this.
The actual point of the way that the power in the West is understood is that it's about withholding. It's about not giving you what you want, and then by not giving you what you want, like that is the power. Like maybe you've had some job, you know. Somewhere and you have a stupid manager who's like making the schedule, and like specifically you've said like, oh, these are the days I can't work, and then he wants to schedule, or she wants to schedule you on those days just to make the point about who do you work for, you know what I mean? Like those types of mind games, and it's very immature, obviously, but it's also very disgusting and deprived and depraved theory of power, or how power, you know, should be, or how power really is, you know, one and the same, what it's really all about. And it's a very problematic conceptualization of power, right? Because it's power over. You see what I mean? It's not power with. It's not power together. right?
I'm sorry to be boring to subscribers, but this ties back to the whole thing that I'm trying to like propagate here. That the West and the political West has been and is acting like a narcissist losing control, and what you're describing is basically a behavior of a narcissist who is trying to get something out of a relationship without giving anything and just giving the illusion, or like future faking, I think is the official term, of like, you know, just going along to get along and get shit out of, you know, and then when they lose control, they spasm out like the U.S. is doing now, by setting the world on fire. So, shall we do a Hulu commercial?
Yeah.
By the way, I can't believe you don't know these.
Oh, Earth.
No.
Hey, Earth!
I'm Seth MacFarlane.
I'm Eliza Dushku.
I'm Alec Baldwin, TV star.
Next time someone says TV rots your brain, laugh. Laugh hard.
They say TV will rot your brain. That's absurd.
Your parents were right, your teachers were right, even that creepy scoutmaster with the tight brown shorts was right. TV is slowly rotting your brain and turning it into a slimy, gooey, mushy blob of pudding.
It's a potent blend of twisty plot lines and insane action that'll keep your eyes glued and your brain rotting.
Televised intoxicants deep into your cerebellum, slowly rotting it into a quivering blob of tapioca.
TV only softens the brain like a ripe banana.
It'll simmer your head meat down to a bubbling, brainy fondue.
More of the cerebral gelatinizing shows you want.
To turn your chunky gray matter.
Let's talk over this a little bit so that maybe
No,
we
I
won't
actually
get the
did see
copyright
this one.
strike.
Yeah, I just didn't know the one you were talking about, but yeah, I do remember this one. Yeah.
This is like a collage of them, but the like I won't play it to the end. People can go find it. Go look.
I remember those. I remember them.
Hulu, we are aliens commercials. Yeah. So yeah, these are the aliens that you're talking about, right?
Right. Yes. I mean, they're not aliens. You know what I mean? There's no such thing as aliens. Yeah.
The alien life forms. Let's put it that way.
I mean, yeah, you can say they're alien to humans, but they're not alien to the human experience, and they're not alien to the history of the human experience. You know, there was one of the preeminent UFO researchers, Jacques Vallée, Jacques Vallée, and he was one of the ones that, as an insider, like someone who worked in the establishment, who worked on government projects, both in the arena of the actual like blue book type stuff, but also in the arena of public disclosure. And one of the things in his career that happened is he began to continue to explore this, like in works like Journey to Magonia, is that there was something else going on in the UFO phenomenon, right? And that this was really, that there was something more going on that had to do with but not psychological, okay, but something going on inside the human being, but more psychic or psychical, not psychological. But he was saying that these are like projections, or that there's something that it's not necessarily like just coming from within inside the person that's having the experience, because can be mass events, you know, but that there's something going on. In other words, like that there's something with human consciousness that opens this portal, and that these are not beings from another world, like in the sense of terra firma, like in the conventional sense of like some planet somewhere. Right, but that these are just a different element of reality and existence that we're wrapped up within. That, you know, the idea that these beings are traveling a great distance to get here is not obvious, right? And it's not elegant from the perspective of like Occam's razor. Like, you don't need to include that they come from far away, right? Because what had been observed are things like materialization and dematerialization. So if you have materialization and dematerialization, you know, you might want to explain that, but, you know, you don't need to imagine or add, you know, like a baseless hypothesis about where they are going when they disappear, right?
You know what it is? You know what it is? I just had like a brainwave. It's time traveling Russian propaganda. they're dematerializing and materializing from future Russians, and they're going back into the past, and there
has been one of the early people talking about, and on the American side, talking about, and there are, I don't hold this with high credibility. I think it might have been Bob Lazar or something like this. I don't remember their names. This is something that I was into when I was like 14 years old.
Is that the guy with the missing hand because of a Dumb's accident where he shot an alien?
I'm not sure. Is it? No, I don't know. But anyway, this was a guy who was saying that that the aliens were time travelers from the future, and that despite having advanced technological things, that their DNA was in bad shape, that the chromosomal thing was like all fucked up. So they were trying to go back in time to find earlier humans that had like functioning organs or functioning genetics, basically. And what he was saying is that these are actually human beings like 1 million or 2 million years in the future that had invented time travel and things like this, but that, which would explain their general, anthropomorphic form. You know what I mean?
This talk turned into...
Others have said, statistically speaking, that, that similar life or intelligent life elsewhere in the universe, in the known universe, even in our, proximity, just, within a few thousand light years away or whatever, that it would be, that these are... statistically speaking, the chances that they would also have a human form are just too slim. And unless there's some, other people have said, no, there's hard-coded ways about the way that beings develop, and the mirror image and the spinal cord are all logical. Like, these are things that would develop, in other places by the same principles that they develop on Earth, because what works, right? So, but the point was that, no, that these are from Earth, but the future. And according to his recount about the autopsy, was that the organs were, like many of the organs were vestigial or like non-functioning. Like they didn't have functioning stomachs, they didn't have functioning adrenal glands, that they were basically rubbing hormones and proteins on their very thin skin to absorb them like externally. That was what he was talking about with the so-called Greys.
I was just gonna say that sounds like what I heard of the Greys, not of any time traveling humans.
I'm saying I'm saying he's saying that the Greys are humans from the fucking future, and they look like that because that's how people are gonna look in a million years.
Sure, buddy. And how many degrees of Kevin Bacon is that guy from Aleister Crowley? That's my only question.
Right, no, I know, very right, exactly. Yeah, no, that's the point. I mean, that's really the real point, is that like these are beings that materialize and dematerialize, yes, in relationship to our thoughts, but also in relationship to our actions. And Crowley was killing people, murdering people in a room, and then removing the body and like putting it in the closet, and then bringing in paying customers or whatever. And then they would do some type of ritual, and they would have an entity, quasi-materialize. Generally, this is described as sort of a conscious moving shadows that aggregate from the corners of the room and kind of form into something like a being out of the shadows. This was Aleister Crowley's method, but it's necromancy, but it's extreme necromancy. The idea has to do with a deceased human body and the levels of trauma involved surrounding death. And, this is still sorcery and everything, but more in the history of necromancy, people would go to graveyards and they would find like the freshest corpse to use, but you can take that up a notch in the direction of extra evil and actually kill the person. And actually, if you're the one killing the person, then there's all of the rules that you're violating, let's say, that in doing so are inviting this portal to be very clear and open. And then you get the materialization and dematerialization. But yeah.
Let's take a little break from the last 10-15 minutes that went off the deep end. This turned into a Coast to Coast AM episode.
Did you get
of course.
AM radio in Kuwait though? Did you?
No. I used to there used to be a guy on YouTube who mirrored the illegally mirrored the whole episodes, and they he'd
after 2006. Yeah, I was listening to Art Bell in '98.
No, not Art Bell. Yeah, not Art Bell. What's the name of the other guy?
I was only listening in the Art Bell period. I don't know the new guy.
I forgot. There's another guy after the new guy, quote unquote. But anyway, in any case, we went off the deep end there. I just wanted to ask, how are you doing with time? Because you said you were iffy about how much time you've got. We've been going for 50 minutes. Do you wanna? And we've got we covered about half the topics that we were planning to, or I was planning to, get into. Do you want to take a little break, or do you want to cover the rest in turbo fashion? Or do you just want to call it a recording?
I guess I would just say in 5 minutes that when that article runs, after that, the one that we're talking about, I'm developing that further, and I'm going to draw a parallel between the changes that are being talked about. Now, again, I have no illusions about what's going on. I'm just talking about messaging and credibility and what the elites seem to be doing, that the World Economic Forum is going to start to back off of some of these things that they've been on about. Their focus on the SDGs and the UN 2030 or so-called millennial goals is shifting. Likewise, Hollywood, and I'm actually placing Hollywood as more the mind canary, that if Hollywood affects this, then for sure we're going to see it happen with the World Economic Forum. And all of these things are Hollywood, because all these things are stage cracked or stage managed. Yeah. So then I'm going to be I'm going to be looking at the inside baseball of some of the Hollywood stuff with the message, right? And how they're backing off of the message, and how that doesn't mean they're letting go of it. They're committed they're committed to it. Don't misunderstand, but they're going to ease off the throttle and try to reestablish some credibility during that period. It's like trolling, it's kind of like stopping and letting other people catch up, or getting the stragglers and stuff. And they're going to move in a direction of trying to speak a more popular language to people. And then we'll see what they do. But that's how I have this tracking, is Hollywood is going to pause the message. And it kind of, you can already see, like with Kamala Harris' campaign, the issues that she's talking about are Trump voter issues, right? They're not whatever that means to say Democrat base or whatever, because Democrats don't care about their base either. But the issue of environmental stuff is not this focus. Harris is trying to talk about, tighter immigration and, efforts to tighten the border. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, you're the administration that's doing this open thing, right? So, but you can see there's this disconnect, but the disconnect is the point, because they're talking a different story now. So Hollywood, American political processes, and the World Economic Forum, I'm going to track and look at how they're kind of backing off and shifting the message to regain some credibility. And they really need to, and that mirrors what Zuckerberg, that slide you were saying, that he had hired a Republican consultant and now he's branding himself as a libertarian, right? So this is to Now, I'm sure a lot of the libertarians that have been kicked off of Facebook over the years are going to love to hear that. Does that mean there's going to be an amnesty? They're going to allow all the libertarians back onto Facebook that have been banned, permabanned? I don't know. But those are the things that they're trying to do. I mean, like I said, Facebook fucked up by kicking so many people off the platform because it becomes an echo chamber, which is not what you want in big data analytics, right? So.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad the Telegram chat channel is not big data analytics, and it is just supporters and followers who have a good sense of humor and have interesting things to share, as opposed to trolls and those other operatives we were talking about earlier. I think you summed up pretty well what we wanted to get across this time. Anything else that you want to touch upon before I play the outro?
I'm good.
All right, here it goes. Same as the intro. All the music on Working Brother by John Woo. Check out the talks with him. Drawings of Children, 1982 versus 2012. We'll just leave that up there for you with no comment. Xoaquin, thank you for stopping by, as always. We'll probably be recording again, so subscribers, look forward to some more. Peace out, everyone.